Hello. I'll get started right after I remove these non-essentials. This tattoo, it's also non-essential. I can't get rid of it like jewelry, yet it does serve a purpose. It says Endian, which means generosity of spirit or grace. It reminds me to extend grace to others, to be patient and treat everyone I meet with kindness. In fact, all these types of non-essentials, they do serve an important purpose. You see, non-essentials may not be those things that keep us alive, like the air we breathe, the water we drink, but they do give us life, uplifting and nourishing us. They're moments, reminders, gestures of beauty, design, creativity, consideration, and generosity. If the essentials enable you to be, to exist, the non-essentials are all about how you feel and grow. By adopting the non-essential mindset, we can shift our focus from surviving to thriving, from simply doing to engaging, and from getting through the day to living in abundance and joy. You see, I wrote a book entitled The Spare Room, which introduces the concept of social legacy. Legacy refers to leaving something or someone better than we found it. Social defines the space in which we seek to have that impact. Social legacy, as a concept, sits at the intersection of two important ideas, your offer and your offense. Let's start with your offer. That is the special combination that you uniquely bring to the table, made of your resources, your skills, your experience, and your unique personality. On the other hand, your offense is that one thing which offends your sense of justice. When you encounter it, you experience a visceral response and think, this cannot go on. Something must be done. When you define your offer and your offense, you home in on that intersection, on your social legacy, which may be made up of what some might deem the non-essentials. All those wonderful, considerate gestures, the micro moments which leave people better, and feeling better than you found them. As an example, I'll share my own social legacy. It is to create great kibun. One of the 17 young people who lived in our spare room came from South Korea, and he introduced this phrase to me. In Korean, kibun refers to what Jeshin calls a comfort for the spirit. Isn't that wonderful? He inspired me so much and helped me realize that my social legacy threads across my family and my work. Why? Because whether you enter my home or my office, I seek to create a space that provides just that, comfort for the spirit. This is a photo of Jeshin and my daughter Lainey when he lived with us. He used to order Korean face masks and have them imported just so that the two of them could enjoy them. Today, we often hear reference to DE&I. What exactly does it stand for? Spoiler alert, I think it's all about comfort for the spirit. Let's start with D. It's all about the numbers. Diversity is about representation, which is definitely important. It's like being invited to a dance to which you previously didn't have access. E stands for equity. If D is about being invited to the dance, E is being asked to dance. And I, inclusion is about that sense of belonging. It's more than being invited to or asked to dance. It's feeling so accepted and valued for exactly who you are that you can feel free to dance like no one is watching. So how do we create that sense of belonging? That everyone, no matter who they are, where they come from, or how they look, is welcome and, in fact, celebrated. Here are 3 tips. First, embrace with language. In our spare room, we've hosted a number of teenagers we barely knew, and teenagers can be hard to get to know. But Lexi, one of our 14-year-old girls, was so sweet and quiet. Because of challenging life circumstances, she was often withdrawn and sad. Well, to draw her out, our family would invite her to join us for dinner or to the ice skating rink. Here's what we learned. Asking Lexi if she would like to join us immediately isolated her. It became her versus we. Despite our positive intentions, we were making Lexi feel like an outsider or a guest. So we changed our language to become more embracing. We started saying, "Heads up, we're going out to dinner tonight," embracing her in casual, familiar language that helped the teen feel like she's part of our family. Lexi lived with us for nearly half a year, and though she still experienced moments of sadness, I remember the next day we hit next level. She popped her head into the kitchen and she said, "Lainey, aren't we playing a game now? Come on, let's go." You see, tweaking wording may not feel like an essential, but consider the nuances. This non-essential mindset can make all the difference, as it did for Lexi. My second tip is to mind the optics. Years after Lexi lived with us, we opened our spare room to Lotus. If you've read my book, you'll know that this teen was the daughter of a prostitute and her pimp. Lotus grew up sharing a dirty, horrifying room with her mother in the brothel. But she really loved school, and when she lived with us, she poured her heart into her studies. And this often meant that Lotus arrived late to group events like dinners because she was attending bushiben or an extra tutoring session after school. I remember one day Lotus met us at a restaurant and our group had already begun eating dinner. I had neglected to leave a chair open for her, thinking we would just squeeze one in when she arrived. But then I noticed the teenager's face as she walked in the door. Her cheeks reddened. She started shifting uncomfortably and looking around, almost in panic mode. She was wondering where to sit, and that's when I realized that this non-essential, the optics, are so important. Leaving an open seat for Lotus signals a warm welcome, and it demonstrates that we're waiting for her to join us. Ever since that dinner, I take care to mind the optics. Do we need to make space for a wheelchair? Is he left-handed? Maybe we should leave him a space at the end of the table. Doesn't she struggle with eyesight? Let's make sure we leave her a seat at the front of the room. The non-essential mindset helps everyone feel cared for and considers how to eliminate unnecessary awkward moments. My third tip, acknowledge contribution. With the babies we cared for, we had to do everything for them. And sometimes, I admit, we adopted the same approach with the older kids. Remember Jae-shin, who taught me about kibun? He was our oldest spare room resident. I was so focused on serving him, making sure he had everything he needed. I had failed to realize he was in return trying to serve us. One day, I remember opening the refrigerator and saw the most beautiful bowl of watermelon cubes. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I can never cut watermelon beautifully. It comes out with all these uneven triangles and slippery slices, but this bowl, it was immaculate. I remember Lainey skipping into the room and seeing me hold this bowl, happily declaring, "Mom, that's mine. Jishin Samchun cuts watermelon for me for my afternoon snack." I glanced at my little girl's glowing face and saw how this gesture made her feel so loved. She then said, "Mom, did you see there aren't any seeds? Jishin picks them all out so I can eat each bite in one big gulp." Wow, that is some special kind of love, isn't it? That evening, I acknowledged Jishin's contribution over dinner, and I'll never forget his response. He said, "I don't know how else to help out around here, so I make watermelon salad for Lainey." Friends, people want to contribute, and they appreciate recognition for their contributions. That's why an important non-essential is to consider how we might create the context for others' contribution, and then ensure we recognize and appreciate their input. That is what the non-essential mindset is all about. Embracing with language, minding the optics, acknowledging contribution. These constitute my social legacy of creating a space that enables kibun, that is, comfort for the spirit. Now, you might be thinking, I could never do that. Perhaps you don't have a spare room. That makes sense because your social legacy is different than mine. I'd encourage you to think through what your own social legacy might look like. What are you uniquely positioned to contribute? Because it's not just about blessing those around you. Prepare for the non-essential mindset to change your life. Allow me to share about our latest spare room kid. Wayne holds such a special place in my heart. When this little guy came to us, he was already 4 years old. He'd been born with hydrocephalus, And that's when your cerebrospinal fluid that cushions your spine and your brain can go up into your skull, but it can't come back down. He was unable to move. His head swelled, causing immense pain and pressure and impacting his neurological function. When he came to us, Wayne was unable to move or speak at all. We soon discovered Wayne needed so much care. My husband and I were both working full time, so we paused to redefine our essentials. First, I thought I had needed my commute time to get work done. That 1 hour to and from work was fantastic for email catch up and global calls. But with Wayne, we realized he would have to come with me to work. So my commute time quickly became song and playtime. Is that not the cutest face? My driver and the office building staff came together to look after Wayne while I worked. And while one might think that a CEO ought to have a presentable car, it turns out that's non-essential too. Wayne took his afternoon nap in the back seat of the van. Untraditional, but it worked. He loves Mr. Howe, and all three of us have become so close on our 2-hour commute every day. Yes, Wayne was probably fed too much junk food by the loving people around him, and yes, he did nap in a car park. But he was thriving, and the building community came together in a wonderful way. Today, Wayne is living with another family, whom we hope will adopt him. The sky's the limit for this little dude, because I learned as I redefined my essentials to make space for him. I already had a very busy life, but Wayne brought such indescribable joy to my everyday. I'd like to end today's talk with these mini videos of Wayne. I hope seeing his progress might inspire you to reconsider what your own essentials are. And perhaps after today's talk, you might take time to define your own social legacy. Let's start with November. Take a look. Even though he's 4 years old, Wayne can't manage basic motor skills. His mouth is moving because he knows it's time to eat, but he can't hold the food, much less get it into his mouth. He worked so hard because just 1 month later in December, check this out. He can now grip his food. Again, Wayne's mouth is moving. He knows it's time to eat, but he can't lift his hand yet. Do you hear his little whimpers? He's trying so hard. And then, with a little help, Wayne gets the pancake in his mouth. And to celebrate, here's something he can do. He gives a high five. Now, this is the miracle. Just a couple months later in February, I made focaccia, which is one of Wayne's favorite foods, so he's highly motivated to eat it. Isn't that amazing? I hope that you are also inspired and walk away thinking about your spare room and your own non-essentials. Today, you have the opportunity to shift from surviving to thriving, from simply doing to engaging. And I hope you let that non-essential mindset help you transition from getting through the day to living in abundance and joy. You can find my contact information here. I would love to hear your thoughts and continue the discussion. From our family to yours, thank you so much for your time today.